represented.
Hello. Welcome back to the Beast Camp podcast once again. I am Beast and we are talking about character in this episode of Krump and life. Okay, let's get straight into it. So for me to understand character, just recently, like maybe 2 years ago, I read a book called Respect for Acting, right? And I was inspired to read this book because I was labbing with Big Miho. We were preparing for the Desert Storm, I believe. And yeah, he showed me his combos and he was just talking about how much, he missed the acting side of Krump and putting that into your combos. And also with Todd Eyes, I labbed with him, I think 2 weeks or a week before that actual lab with Miho. So they were both talking about they missed their characteristics and all that. And I remember that Todd Eyes and Miho were both in an acting course when they were in school, in high school, I believe. And it just makes sense to me because one time I was watching Todd Eyes lab, just his get off, and I asked him, I was like, why is your get off so interesting to watch? And he said, I just act in between. And I was like, okay, then let me read some books on acting. Because think about it, I mean, that's in my opinion why Todd Eyes and Miho will forever be better than anybody, because they have that skill and actually had that experience of being in classes. And yeah, I have stories of Miho telling me Todd Eyes in a play by himself in a big trench coat, and he was narrating everything he was doing, and it's just crazy, it really makes sense of just how comfortable Todd Eyes is in embodying a character. So yeah, a lot of stuff I'm gonna reference is to this book. It's called Respect for Acting by Utah Hagen. Okay, so yeah, the first advice that the book tells you is to put yourself into the character, right? A lot of people would read the script or would hear a character like, okay, my Beast character right now is Bruce Lee, or just a martial artist type of person, and people would really think, okay, I have to be Bruce Lee. But some people do not obsess with Bruce Lee like I do, but I give that openness of a martial artist. So people like 1K, he loves Tony Jaa, right? Ghost Beast, he loves Jackie Chan, so the Drunken Master. So yeah, they put their experience within the character of what's given to them, as in like, oh, this is your character as a martial artist or whatever. Same with Stryker, it's like a Deadpool inspired character, like a troll, but he is an assassin. Like, he can really kill you, but he makes it super funny, and he's just super abstract. So some people don't have to pull from that, but it can inspire them to do that. So yeah, some stuff that can help you guys just put yourself into a character is just human movements, right? Usually when I teach private classes and we're going over character, I'm just like, well, how would you grab a cup? How do you drink? How do you walk? How do you breathe? Like, how do you stand? So those are the things that we have to but we do have to work on, which is just our human movements, our human reactions, right? I mean, I think I talked about it in the lab tips number 1, where I was saying about words like what, who, but how would you say what? I say what, like what? Like in real life, I'd be like, what? And ask my friends, like, that's my favorite way of saying what, like, what the heck? Like, you know what I mean? So that in your movement can kind of make me have this like ticking motion when I say like, what? So so just stuff like that. How would I grab something if I'm a bit frustrated, if I'm mad, if I'm angry, if I'm happy, if I'm curious, you know what I mean? And how do you do that? So that's another thing. Just think about human movements in Krump too. Yeah, I know we have a lot of basics, but I believe just us being ourselves is one of the main basics in Krump too. So it's Todd Ice has been telling me, it's like we're putting flesh on the machine. So everyone knows how to do the machine, which is like the basics, the jab, chest pop. That's the machine. Everyone looks the same. So now we have to start putting back the flesh into this machine, and this is where people may not understand you. People may interpret it different, but that's real life, right? People may not understand why you are a certain way, why you react a certain way or whatever, but hey, that's real life, and that is art, right? And my last thing about character for Krump on this episode is different seasons in life may inspire your different characters. So, I mean, we can look at Todd Eyes. He has Todd Eyes. NY Madness, Mad Rip, Style Ripper, Bad Guy, right? So, and if you hear him, why he created those characters was because of a certain part in his life, right? So NY Madness was when he was living in New York and he just remembered just living there, all the madness. And then same with Style Ripper. Style Ripper, people was tired of Todd Eyes winning, so he said, okay, I'm gonna rip your style and I'm gonna just be you and rip your style. So you are losing to yourself type of thing. So, and then of course even that character starts to evolve, etc., etc. So same with me, with my Beast character. It started as just me. I love to just make my art as a connected to me as I can. So when I was first making the Beast style, I was like, well, what do we do? So we work out. We love like martial arts. We love like cultural dances like the haka and stuff like that. And then certain TV shows or certain games just started to add on to the character and stuff like that. And it evolves. You know what I mean? Like I said, you'll just have a main base. So same with Street Beast. I needed something to remind myself of before the wins, before the stardom, before the platform. I just needed to be in the streets, and I pulled from like Conor McGregor and the old Kid Beast, right? And when I was in high school, so I was like, okay, I was literally in the streets and stuff like that. So and my tip for that is you don't really have to stick to a certain character and maybe name it as like, this needs to be my name, like with Beast Lee. Beast Lee isn't really a fam. It was just such a character that popped out that everyone started to notice. Like I was teaching people while I was beating them. So I just was just always a teacher, like my persona in the Krump world for the past few years was just, I was just one of the best teachers, and I was doing it in battle. I was doing it on my posts on Instagram or Facebook. So people were just like really telling me that, or calling me Beast Lee before I even called myself that. But is that a name? Is that something I will build off of? No. And will that go on to something else? No. So as of right now too, I'm more on this like hippie human phase. Like, everyone knows Beast, like he's crazy, he does the impossible, but I just want to be human, be simple, do stuff that's just like people expect, or that's just not so extraordinary. I just want to be normal. So that's kind of where my character's at now. Does it fit anywhere in my current characters or style? No. Will it turn into something? I don't know, but it's something that I pull from. So yeah, so those are some of my tips or just my experiences with character, right? Put yourself into the character, or especially if you're in a fam or if you're creating something, put yourself in it. Don't become literally Deadpool. Don't become literally like Beast Lee. Put yourself in Beast Lee or in Deadpool, and see like how you can amplify that and make it your own, right? And you amplify that by doing your own set of movements. Be aware of how do you grab, how do you look, how do you say what, how do you say these certain things, and it may not last forever. So yeah, let's get into the life part of this episode. And it's like what Jordan Peterson said for my first point is, he asked, do you really know yourself, right? And I think that's super interesting, because if you really think about you thinking, it's kind of like two people inside there. Like there's someone thinking, but there's someone observing, and that person observing maybe is talking back to that person that's thinking, and that's how you get into an argument like within yourself. And that's how people kind of go into a rabbit hole of overthinking, is because you are literally talking to like two people. So it's an interesting concept where Peterson, uh, he quotes Carl Jung a lot, where Carl Jung explains about the shadow, where everyone has their own shadow, right? Everyone has their own bad parts of them, and they need to work on that, or else it'll take over, and that's where the internal wars come in, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just a simple question like, do you really know yourself? And, going back to respect for acting, she talks about like if someone knocks on the door and let's say it's your mom that opens the door, you're gonna act a different way. You're gonna be a certain person to your mom. But let's say if it's the homies, right? You're gonna say what's up to them, say this, say that, say certain like things, you know what I mean? Certain stories that your mom can't really know. And then if it's your boss that answers the door, you're gonna be someone else. So it's really interesting to know that you do have different layers of yourself. And I think for me, the biggest thing is, one of the biggest things of this episode is to understand that we have different layers, right? Like for me, I have a different layer of teacher, I have a different layer of friend, brother, student, business guy learning a business, like a person learning business, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many layers, and we have to be aware of that okay, in this time, if I am in public teaching, then I am the teacher. Don't really try to use the card of like, well, that's the homie, I could kind of pass. No, respect, where they're at. And yeah, I'm pretty aware of, like let's say with my relationship with Todd Eyes, I know when it's workshop time, it's work. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna like sit there and be his friend. I'm gonna sit there and be his student. You know what I mean? And then when it's chill time, I'll be his friend and all that. And then, it just, the list goes on, and it just depends like who's in your life and how many layers they have. So, yeah. And it'll just help us be more kind and more understanding towards others. Yeah, and I just want to read this. It's from a book called The Road Back to You, and it's pretty interesting, right? It says, ironically, the term personality is derived from the Greek word for mask. And then it says in parentheses, persona. So that's the Greek word persona, personality. Interesting, right? Reflecting our tendencies to confuse the mask we wear with our true selves, even long after the threats of early childhood has passed. Now, we no longer have a personality. Our personality has us. Now, rather than protect our defenseless heart against the inevitable wounds and losses of childhood, our personalities, which we and others experience as the ways we predictively think, feel, act, react, process information, and see the world, limit or imprisons us. So I think that's just really interesting that this book talks about how our persona, our personalities, is basically a mask because, when we grow up and we're starting to become programmed by different experiences, by different teachings, right? That, we start to put on this mask so we can be protected by certain things because, your parents say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. And you're starting to build this mask so you can be protected by certain things. Now, this is super interesting because what are you really being protected by? Some stuff, of course, like you're being protected by death, but maybe some stuff you're being protected by is their own insecurities. And now you have to build that and have that same mask that they do. So it's really interesting. I'm down to talk to you guys or whatever, but I do want to shed some light in this, that do you guys really know yourselves? You know what I mean? And this is why I really have a faith and a relationship with God, because if he claims that he knows me more than I know myself, I have to trust him. And to be honest, from my experience, he's been revealing to me certain triggers, certain traumas that makes me, again, like have this mask, and slowly I'm starting to pick apart this mask. And that's for life, that's the shadow work that Jordan Peterson or Carl Jung talks about, that this is a lifetime thing that you know, we're always going to experience things. We're always going to put on a mask. He's always going to make us feel some type of way, and it's going to make us part of our personality because it becomes our defense mechanism. But there are times to do that, and there are times to, get over it and start over, or face your fears, right? So this is super interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed it with the Krump aspect and the life aspect. And yeah, just be kind to one another. Be aware of people's layers, be aware of their traumas, be aware of what certain masks they have and certain personalities, and really understand and really get to know people. Like, why do you see the world that you see? And are you aware of that? Are you in control? And just like as the book says, do you have the personality, or does the personality have you? So let's keep leveling up, not just in dance but in life. And this is why I'm doing these podcasts. Yeah, let's keep leveling up in life, in character, in Krump, and in life. And please, please, please stay safe, be open, and always be bug. Till next time.